Okay, a few facts about the heart valves. And we have just said that we have four heart valves. We have the ones at the exit of every ventricle. They are the semilunar valves. So in the right ventricle, we have the pulmonary semilunar valve, and in the left ventricle, the aortic semilunar valve. And then we have another set of valves, right? And they are called the AV valves, the right and left atrium ventricular valves, or because of the number of flaps or cusps that they have, this is called tricuspid, 3 flaps. This one is called bicuspid, 2 flaps on the left side, also called the mitral valve. Now, what I want to say is that, as you can see, look at the surface, the inner surface of the ventricles. Compare that to the atrium. Do you see the atrium? The atria are very smooth, and the surface of both ventricles are rough and irregular. And that surface is called trabecular carinae. The thing is that from there, I want you to see these conical projections of muscle. This is muscle. This is the same myocardium. They're in here form these cones. Can you see them? They are called papillary muscles. Papillary muscles. And as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3 on the right side, 1, 2 in the left side. You know why? Yes, because the tricuspid valve has 3 cusps, 1, 2, and let's say 3. So we have this papillary muscle has some threads, tendinous threads, they're connective tissue, that they extend from the papillary muscle to each of these cusps, and they're called corda. Corda is Corda Tangina, and corda is like a thread, something like that, and tendina because it's made out of regular connective tissue. So Corda Tangina attaches in one side or threads, okay, of connective tissue. In one side they attach to the papillary muscle, and in the other end they are attaching to the flaps or the cusp of each valve. So what it does, when the ventricle starts to contract to eject the blood to the pulmonary trunk and to the aorta, the first thing that contracts in here are the papillary muscle. And what it does is just tenses that corda tendina, so avoids, remember this is full or filled with blood. So, and at that moment the valves close to avoid the backflow of blood into the atrium. So what the corda tendina, the papillary muscle does is that tenses the corda tendina, trying to avoid the flaps to open up into the atria, and avoiding at the same time the backflow of blood. So that's how they work. 3 papillary muscles, 3 sets of corda tendina on the right side for the tricuspid valve, and 2 papillary muscle attached to a set of 2 corda tendina on the bicuspid valve on the left ventricle. Okay, so they tense just to avoid. Imagine that they open in one direction, right? Let's say that this is bicuspid valve, and is in here I have the atrium. In here, this is the ventricle. So blood is flowing and opens the valve in this direction towards the ventricle. When the ventricle is full, if the blood pushes up the the valves and they close, and then the ventricle starts to contract. And to avoid, since I'm increasing the pressure inside the ventricle, to avoid this, the valves open into the atria, the papillary muscle and the Corda Tangina tenses that and brings them down, like, don't open. Okay, so that's the function of those structures. In here is like they removed both atria, and we can see only the valves, and down there this will be the ventricle. So this is a superior view. Are you oriented? Look at how they section the heart. So I can see, well, these are the semilunar valves. So one is blue, one is, go back to our colors. One is red, one is blue. So this one carrying deoxygenated blood, remember that is deoxygenated blood, the blue blood is managed by the right side. So this is the pulmonary semilunar valve. And this one is red, which means that is managing the oxygenated blood, which is carry or just passes through the left heart. And I'm doing this, left heart. And that's the aortic semilunar valve. Both of them has the 3 cusps. Now look at this. In here I have the 2 atrioventricular valves. I know, how do you know which one is which? Yep, you just count the number of flaps. See, 1 and 2, this is the one on the left side. This is the bicuspid or mitral valve or left atrioventricular valve. And look at this one, 1, 2, 3. This is the tricuspid or right atrioventricular valve, located between the right atrium and the right ventricle. Okay? In the next, last but not least, I just brought you this picture so you can see together the thickness, what we were talking about in the last video, the thickness of the ventricular wall on the right side and in the left side. So on the left side is thicker because it needs to contract forcefully against the major resistance, the resistance of the blood vessels of the entire body. In here we don't need so much strength, so much pressure in the contraction, or so much force actually in the contraction, because we're just pumping blood against the blood vessels, the resistance inside the blood vessels from the heart to the lungs, okay? So, and look at the size of the cavity itself. See, the right ventricle is bigger than the left, but again, I want you to repeat this for you. I want to repeat this for you, that they both manage the same amount of blood on every beat. Okay, the difference is only on the pressure, okay, and the force of contraction. Now, in the next video, we are going to travel through the heart. We're going to be a drop of blood traveling through the heart, but then we're going to describe something else. See you in the next video.